It was supposed to be a romantic weekend celebrating our 3rd wedding anniversary at the elegantly opulent Grand Palais Hotel. My husband had surprised me by booking their lavish honeymoon suite as a gift, knowing how much I'd always dreamed of spending an indulgent weekend being pampered at such a posh resort. I envisioned relaxing by the pool, being served fruity cocktails, getting massages at the world-class spa, enjoying gourmet meals by candlelight, and retiring each evening to our luxurious king suite to continue the celebration. When we first checked into the astounding 2-story penthouse on the top floor, everything exceeded my already lofty expectations. The sweeping vista of manicured gardens and fountains below was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, plush carpets caressed our feet, and a private terrace featured a bubbling hot tub under the stars. A silver ice bucket with a complimentary bottle of Dom Perignon and chocolate-dipped strawberries awaited us. As my husband drew me a bubble bath in the marble-soaking tub, I noticed a tiny hole in the silk wallpaper near the California king bed's tufted velvet headboard. Peering inside, I was shocked to see it was actually a camera lens. I assumed it must be some kind of prank left behind by a previous guest. We immediately called down to the polished mahogany front desk to report it, and within minutes a maintenance man knocked on the door. He removed the device, seemingly baffled himself, and assured us it was likely just a silly gag. Relieved, we wrote it off as an odd incident. The next morning, after a gourmet breakfast of duck confit, eggs Benedict, and French press coffee delivered via room service to our private terrace, an uneasy prickling feeling slowly began nagging at me. As I lay by the cascading waterfall pool, I couldn't stop thinking about that camera. Why would someone go to such trouble for a prank? Back in our suite, I started noticing more tiny holes camouflaged throughout the room. 3 in the plush velvet living area curtains, 2 peering out from the leaves of the decorative plant in the bathroom, and another skillfully hidden in the wooden carvings by the window seat. My husband called down to the polished receptionist this time, demanding an explanation from the manager himself. The manager arrived promptly, his tone terse, and claimed the maintenance man must have accidentally missed a few cameras. He vowed to immediately assign additional staff to scour our suite and remove every last device. His tense manner and implication that we shouldn't make unfounded accusations without proof made me even more uneasy. I couldn't rid myself of the creeping sense that we were being closely watched, and insisted we switch to a new room just in case. But upon meticulously inspecting the new lavish accommodations just as thoroughly, we discovered several more ingeniously hidden lenses behind light sconces, potted palms, and framed artwork. It became chillingly clear this was not an isolated prank, but something deliberate and much more sinister. We piled the plush armchairs in front of the double doors as a barricade and whispered about our options. Calling the police could potentially put us in grave danger if the staff was monitoring our room. We decided to stay put and cautiously gather evidence, using my compact mirror to peer around corners and meticulously inspecting every inch of the palatial suite. I discovered tiny microphones buried in the lampshades, alarm clock, headboard, and house phone. My husband took dozens of photos documenting all the expertly concealed surveillance equipment while I jotted down copious notes. We cautiously ventured around the Grand Hotel, peering behind paintings to note peculiar wires running discreetly along the baseboards, and investigating the intricately patterned wallpaper and paneling for anything askew. In the early hours before dawn, we investigated the suites above and below ours, discovering more hidden cameras and wires. By the sprawling pool area late at night, we hid in the shadows as members of the hotel staff held furtive conversations about incriminating footage. At breakfast the next morning, we urgently requested a meeting with the manager in his office. He attempted to assuage our concerns with his polished charm, but we confronted him with our extensive documentation. Shocked and alarmed at being caught, he made vague, sinister threats implying retaliation if we dared report any of this to authorities. It was now undeniably clear this went far beyond a few isolated hidden cameras. They were secretly surveilling and recording unsuspecting guests for some nefarious purpose, and deliberately covering it up. We realized with dawning horror that we had stumbled onto something truly chilling and dangerous. Blackmail, coercion, possibly even human trafficking. We knew we had to get away from there and find a way to safely bring this to light. Making an excuse that we were heading into town for lunch at a cafe, we hurriedly gathered our belongings and retrieved our car from the valet. My husband drove down the winding forested hotel drive at breakneck speed, constantly checking the rearview mirror to see if any black SUVs pursued us. At the nearest police station 20 miles away, we provided extensive full reports to a horrified detective, along with all the incriminating photos and notes. An urgent investigation was launched, but the hotel owner had mysteriously vanished without a trace. I still shudder when I think of how close we came to being victims ourselves in that sprawling, palatial house of horrors, and what unspeakable things may have transpired if we hadn't discovered those hidden cameras in time. We did our best to expose the scandal and prevent others from such danger. The Grand Palais was permanently shut down amid swirling dark rumors about what vile secrets those elegant suites truly concealed. I'm just overwhelmed with relief that we escaped unscathed, though the chilling horror of what we inadvertently uncovered in that splendid hotel will haunt me forever. Now, when we go away together to celebrate our anniversary, I strictly insist upon smaller family-owned B&B as an inns far off the beaten path. No hidden dangers, just cozy relaxation and joyfully making beautiful memories. When I arrived at the Grand Historic Hotel, I did not expect to receive a mysterious complimentary upgrade to the lavish penthouse suite. The polished Victorian-era establishment had an air of faded glory and forgotten secrets. As the smiling bellhop led me down the ornate carpeted hallway, he remarked that I must have some special luck to land the finest room in the place. I chuckled modestly, having no notion yet of the true darkness that awaited me in that suite. If only I had heeded the first inklings of unease and requested a standard room instead. But filled with the eager optimism of travel, I never suspected what sinister forces had already marked me. Stepping inside the multi-room penthouse, I admired the refined furnishings and sumptuous decor. Velvet upholstered chairs flanked an imposing stone fireplace, while crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, illuminating the imposing space. Floor-to-ceiling windows provided panoramic views of the city skyline and countryside beyond. The entire suite had an aura of old-world charm, from the plush Persian rugs underfoot to the intricate crown molding lining the ceilings. As I explored further, goosebumps rose on my arms despite the warmth inside. I paused, glancing around for any source of a draft but finding none. Shaking off the odd sensation I assumed fatigue from travel had made me imagine things. At the time, I had no cause to think anything was amiss. That first night I awoke with a start to a tremendous crashing noise that seemed to shake the very walls. I sat bolt upright, heart pounding as I wildly looked about the pitch-black room. Yet as my eyes adjusted, I detected no fallen shelves, broken lamps, or other signs of disruption. Uneasy, I climbed from bed to investigate, but found nothing disturbed. The expansive suite was meticulously neat. As much as the fierce noise had rattled me, perhaps I had dreamt it. Finally, I slipped back under the covers, oblivious to the malevolent presence that had already crept into the shadows to claim me. Over subsequent nights, an unnatural stillness filled the once elegant suite after dark, replaced by a creeping sense of dread. Lights inexplicably flickered at odd hours. Strange odors emanated from nowhere, and I often heard peculiar sounds in the wee hours, knocking, scraping, sometimes distant anguished cries that prickled my skin with fear. I began sleeping fitfully, frequently jerking awake, convinced something lurked nearby. Each morning I sheepishly questioned the staff, who reacted with polite concern. But I detected a guardedness in their eyes. They advised blithely that old buildings make odd noises and bad dreams are common when traveling. Their evasiveness should have warned me away. Instead, I remained naively unconvinced anything was truly wrong. With each passing night, the heavy darkness intensified, bringing terrors beyond imagining. Sinister faces with hollow black eyes leered from the patterned wallpaper when I turned off the lights. Photo frames rattled violently on side tables, books flew from shelves to pelt my arms and head. No locks or barricades could keep the bedroom door from creeping open by unseen hands. Strange voices called my name from shadowy corners. I cowered trembling under mounds of blankets, questioning my own sanity. But the evidence was too palpable to deny. Something wanted me gone or worse. Begging staff to let me switch rooms proved useless. Their polite smiles held an edge of concealed warning. Concerned patrons were bad for business, so they doubled down on blaming my overactive imagination. Their dismissiveness left me isolated and terrified as the haunting escalated. By the fourth night, I could hardly recognize the once stately suite. A dense, swirling darkness filled the rooms, suppressing all light and sound. Blood oozed from light fixtures, maniacal laughter echoed all around, grotesque faces formed in the walls. Shadowy hands grabbed me from every direction, shoving me back each time I broke free and ran for the exit. Incantations in a foreign tongue reverberated through the stale air. No matter how desperately I screamed for help, none came. When the sun finally rose, the spirits receded, leaving no trace. The elegant suite reappeared, meticulously appointed yet concealing unspeakable evil. Once I uncovered past deaths in the suite through discreet inquiries, I urgently pleaded again for help. The staff remained evasive, except one clerk who confessed strange sightings himself. He warned me to get out immediately before I became the next victim. I pushed to learn more, but he refused any further disclosure of the hotel's troubled history and the true nature of the forces I was dealing with. Questioning corporate only earned vague apologies and empty reassurances. No one dared acknowledge the truth. On the final night, a noxious darkness swallowed me completely. I tasted blood, felt razor slashes on my arms. Piercing shrieks rang out as shadowy hands clawed at me. Glimpses of fire and glowing red eyes flashed all around. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsing with a sinister life force determined to consume my soul. Strange incantations echoed from unseen sources. I felt my grasp on reality slipping away as the evil compressed my very being. I awoke the next morning drenched in a cold sweat, trembling violently from lingering terror. My body remained intact, though my mind had been shattered by forces beyond comprehension. I knew then I had to escape immediately, or I would end up like all the other lost souls who entered that suite never to emerge alive. By the front desk, I slipped the clerk double his weekly wage to confirm my worst fears, that many had tried and failed to exorcise the malevolent presence haunting that palatial suite over the decades. It was a darkness too ancient and evil to be purged. Those who spoke of it tended to disappear. I drove off numbly, flooded with relief while the nightmarish images still bombarded my mind. I will never understand what sinister presence dwells within that once grand hotel suite, but one thing became clear. Darkness can seep through the cracks of even the most elegant facades, and not all who encounter it live to tell the tale. I was one of the lucky ones to escape that accursed suite with my life, but its horrors will haunt me as long as I draw breath. Arriving at the hotel after a long day of travel, I was ready to collapse into bed. The Grand Majestic was one of the oldest hotels in the city, with ornate crown molding and chandeliers that gave it an elegant vintage feel. At the front desk, the clerk was friendly as he checked me in and handed over a key card. "You'll be in room 419. Take the elevator to the 4th floor." I stepped into the creaky elevator and pressed the round plastic button for floor 4. As the doors slid closed, I caught a glimpse of the majestic lobby, lit by the large chandelier at its center. The elevator slowly ascended with a metallic groan that didn't inspire confidence. When it shuddered to a stop on the 4th floor, the doors opened to reveal a dim hallway with faded rose-patterned wallpaper. The carpet was thin and gray, worn down over years of use. I rolled my small suitcase down the hall, passing identical dark wooden doors. It was deathly quiet up here. The only sound was the squeaking of the wheels on my suitcase over the threadbare carpet. I found room 419 and keyed open the heavy door. The room itself was small and sparse, with just a queen-size bed topped by a quilted bedspread, an old tube TV on the dresser, and dark drapes blocking the sole window. The air was stuffy, as if the room hadn't been aired out in a while. I set my suitcase in the corner and sat on the lumpy mattress, wondering if I'd be able to get any sleep. I freshened up before deciding to explore the hotel. Opening the door, I peered into the still hallway. The only movement came from slow-flashing exit signs pointing to the stairwell. I walked towards the ancient elevator, passing silent rooms. On my way, I noticed with unease that some of the room numbers skipped from the 410 seconds up to the 430 seconds. Very strange. Down in the lobby, I saw just a few people sitting on ornate sofas, reading newspapers or looking at their phones. They barely glanced up as I passed by. At the front desk, I asked the clerk why the 4th floor was so empty and quiet. With the same polite smile, he explained they used it as an overflow floor during busy times. His response struck me as odd, but I was too exhausted to inquire further. Back in my room that evening, I settled into bed but felt unnerved by the heavy silence weighing down the 4th floor. Just as I nodded off, I thought I heard faint whispers and footsteps outside my room. I sat up straining to hear, but the sounds had vanished. Must be my tired mind playing tricks, I told myself. The next morning I woke feeling restless. I decided to get some work done on my laptop before venturing out into the city. In the hallway, the same unnatural hush permeated the air. I shivered as I entered the elevator, pressing the worn lobby button. But instead of descending, the elevator creaked to a stop on the 4th floor. Confused, I stepped out and got back in, making sure to press lobby again. And once more, I ended up right back on the 4th floor. Now nervous, I rushed down the stairwell, my footsteps echoing. I went down at least 10 flights of stairs. But somehow I still emerged back on the 4th floor, winded and bewildered. How was this happening? There had to be some rational explanation, right? My unease turned to real fear. I felt like an unseen presence wanted me trapped here. I retreated to my room, pacing as I tried to calm my racing mind. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched by some sinister force. Those faint whispers returned. Shadows shifted in the corners of my eyes. The very air felt heavy with menace. Night fell, and I knew I had to get out of there. I packed my bags and headed straight for the stairs, sprinting down flight after flight. But no matter how many stairs I bounded down, I'd find myself right back on the threshold of the 4th floor again. Escape seemed impossible, like the hotel itself was working against me. Exhausted and frantic, I returned to my room as my only refuge. In the darkest hour of the night, I was jolted awake by a distant scream out in the hallway. I leapt up and ran to press my ear against the cold wooden door. Muffled moans and shuffling footsteps moved past my room, accompanied by inhuman wailing. Shadowy forms drifted by, indistinct shapes of smoky darkness. A dawning terror congealed inside me. I was trapped on a haunted floor, imprisoned by tormented spirits. They were determined not to let me leave this place alive. I huddled in the corner of the room, praying for daylight's salvation, trying to withstand the sinister forces invading my senses. Sleep was impossible as the night stretched into eternity. Morning finally arrived after the longest night of my life. I knew I had one chance to break free. I listened at the door until the elevator dinged. As it rumbled open, I burst from my room and sprinted for the stairs. Unearthly cries echoed behind me, but I kept running down, nearly stumbling in my desperation. I erupted into the lobby in a panic, racing for the front door as a startled guest looked on. I lunged into the back seat of the first taxi I saw and gasped out directions to anywhere but there. As we drove off, I turned to see the Grand Majestic disappearing behind us, its elegant facade now harboring unimaginable evils. I knew I was lucky to escape with my life and soul intact. The tormented spirits dwelling within could have trapped me there forever. But somehow I had broken free of their haunted hotel prison. I vowed never again to stay on an unused hotel floor that did not want its dark secrets disturbed.